Being able to keep track of new leads, keep top of mind how much new customers are worth, and be efficient in knowing who to contact and when can allow businesses to be efficient, enhance their productivity, and be more successful in whichever markets they're working in. A CRM, or a customer relationship management tool, can be key in streamlining these processes to make sure that customers don't fall through the cracks, that you follow up and make progress on potential opportunities regularly and appropriately. Hi, I'm Kevin from Budibase, and I'd like to show you how you can use Budibase to create for yourself a CRM that's built around your needs so that you can streamline your workflows even more and be more efficient in achieving your goals. Let's dive in. I start, as always, in the Budibase portal, and I'm going to create a new application. You have an option to choose one of our many templates. You can import an application, or you can start from scratch. I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to call this my CRM. At Budibase, we want to help you turn your data into action. And so the first thing we want is to get the data into Budibase. Now you could create some new tables or use some sample data that we have available just to get an idea of how to build applications with our system. You can upload data from CSV or JSON files that you might have available, or you can connect to an external data source, either relational or non-relational, a REST API or a spreadsheet. We've got lots of different integrations that will hopefully take the data you already have and make it more actionable straight away. I've already been collecting my customers in a Postgres database, so I'm going to click on PostgreSQL and enter my connection string. For me, that's host.docker.internal. The database I'm connecting to is called CRM, and I'll enter my username and password and connect. That'll present me with the tables that are available to import from that database. And I only want two, so I'll unselect all and I'll select companies and contacts, and I'll fetch tables there. That'll fetch the schemas and the data that exists within my database so I can get an idea of what's there. And from here, I've got full CRUD functionality already. I can create new records by adding at the bottom. I can see what's there. I can update any of these fields or delete them by clicking these checkboxes and pressing the bin, and that will be reflected in the database. So straight away, I've got my database in a more graphical way through almost spreadsheet implementation here. There's a couple of data tasks I want to handle. The first is that the status is linked as a string, just a text string, but I'd like it to be a list of options because each contact is either representing a one deal, a new contact, something that's in progress, or something that's been lost. So there's only 4 options. So I'm going to click the 3 dots up here, edit column, and instead of text, I'm going to change the type to options and add those options in I've just mentioned. Budibase will then reformat them as these sort of more colorful tabs, and I can select from a drop down now. If I wanted to add to a new record, I can select from a drop down one of those 4 options or change between them. The other thing I'd like to do is I'd like to connect the contacts to the companies. I have this sort of foreign key, this company ID that I have beside each of these contacts. So I'm going to do the companies. I'm going to define a relationship. A one-to-many, because one company can have many contacts. I want to use the company ID here. I want to link it to the contacts and use the company ID over there. There I'll call it the company, and here I'll call it the employee, and I'll save. So now the contacts are listed by this date. And if we see the contacts table, that's because the first column is the create of that date. I want the user to be represented by their email address. So I'll scroll over, I'll find email, use the 3 dots and say use this display column. Now if I go back over here, I can see for each company, I've got this list of employees. Now this created at date is being used as the display column for the companies, but I'd rather the name was used. So I'll use the 3 dots over here and I'll use that as the display column. Now back in my contacts, I can see the company that they work for is very clear, and on companies who's working there is pretty clear. So that's awesome. I already have a pretty rich experience. If I want to, I can add new contacts on here. I can update the status if I want to. I can change the dates of things that happen, update the estimated values and lots of things that are really helpful. But I like it to be more graphical. And that's where we can jump into the design tab. This part of the Budibase interface where once we've got the data, we start to be able to design a more user-friendly and accessible way to access our data. So I'm going to add a screen, and I'm going to add the screen for opportunities. I'll call it opportunities. Continue. And for this screen, I'm going to add a table block. I want the table block to be for the contacts, and I want the filter to just filter on the status and have that equal to in progress. I just want those contacts where it's on in progress, so I can see the ones that I still am working on. Now this table is quite overwhelming, so I'll go to configure columns and add all the columns and then start tidying it up. That last contact date is important. Estimated close will be important. Company will be important. Get rid of that. Maybe bring the name up to the top. Got a much tidier table now. So first name, last name, estimated close date, last contacted, and we can see when that was. And if I scroll down, I can click on the Show Details side panel and configure the fields over there. I'll add them all, and I will get rid of some of these and just rearrange them again. Save that. So now when I preview, if I click on a row, I get to see the current details. As I'm chatting to the customer, I can update the time I'm speaking to them to now. I can change the status to be, oh, we lost that piece of work. When I save that record, then this top one will be no longer be on this table. It'll be taken off again. And we can see that happening. So I can sort by when I last contacted them. I could sort by the estimated close date to sort of get an idea of, oh, we should probably work on this one because it's soon and we haven't talked to them since July. We can see the estimated value and what company they're working for. It would be great to have some summary statistics too. So what I would like is, I would like the sort of total estimated value, so adding together all the estimated values. I'd like the average estimated value, and I'd also like to know how many of these people I've talked to in the last 7 days, well, me or my team have talked to in the last 7 days. To be able to get that information, I'm going to need to create a custom query. So go to Data, into Postgres, and I'm going to create a new query. So I'm going to create that as 2 separate queries. I'll do the average and total value. And inside this query field, we're just going to write a custom SQL query. I want to select, and I'm going to use the sum function. I'm going to sum the estimated value column and call that total estimated value. And I'm going to use the average function, the AVG, and just do exactly the same. Estimated value as average estimated value. And I want to do that from the contacts table. So I'll run the query just to make sure we get back data, and I'll save that query. So back in my design tab, I'm going to add a card block. Bring that to the top. And the data source I want to listen to is the average and total value. And first of all, I'm going to have the title for the first one to be new cards block. I'll do total estimated value. I'll use the subtitle to say total estimated value. And get rid of description. I'll just tidy that up a little bit. First of all, I'll put a pound sign at the front of it. Secondly, I want this to be a fixed to 2 decimal place. So there's a helper method called toFixed, which takes this value and then you tell it how many decimal places you want it to be. Okay, next I want the average. So I'll call this the total value block. Now I want the average. So let's just duplicate this, change it to average value, update this instead of total value. We want to change that to average value. And then we will change this to average customer value. Now I'd like them to be horizontally aligned. So to do that, I'll stick them inside of a container and tell the container to be horizontally aligned. And the last thing I want to know is how many of these people have I talked to in the last 7 days. So I'll do another custom query for that. So I'll go to PostgreSQL, queries, create new query. And this is last 7 days contact. So I want to select, and I want to count star as recent contact count from contacts where last contact is greater than or equal to the current date, which is a built-in Postgres variable, minus an interval of 7 days, and last contact is less than the current date plus an interval of 1 day. So if I've talked to them today, I want that to count. And status is in progress. So if we run that query, we'll see that's been 2 people. And so we'll save that now. Over here, we'll add another card block. This time the data we're listening to is our last 7 days contact. Say title will be new cards block recent contact count. Say contacted in last 7 days. Then as we're going through, we could estimate a close. This group here, let's contact them now. Change that to 18, save that and save. And then that data is going to then be updated the next time we refresh the page. So already we have a pretty useful system to have in front of us. We can keep track of customers, we can know who we've talked to, and we can know who we need to focus on. But how about getting new leads into our system? Rather than having to enter them manually, is there a way that we can manage it? Well, I want to show you how to create a form that you can embed in any page of any website, just using an iframe. So to do that, I'm going to create a new screen. And I'll call it contact form. Now I want to embed this form onto lots of different web pages and lots of different traffic channels. So maybe Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, lots. And I want some way to differentiate where I've collected this particular client from. And to do that, I'm going to use a dynamic piece of my URL. And to represent the dynamic piece, I use a colon. So I'm going to say colon channel, and I'm going to be able to use that later on. So I'll click continue. And I want the access level to this to be public. I don't need people to be logged in order to use this form. In fact, they're probably not going to be. So I'll set the public, and then I'll click done. This role-based access control is really clear in this color coding. We can see you need to be logged in to do the green things, but anything blue, anyone can access. Now, when someone comes to this form, I kind of want the fact that it's a separate web page to fall into the background. So I'm going to switch off this showing of the nav so that this form is just going to take up the whole space. I'm going to add a form. I'm going to say, make everything centered. So I'll align to the center. And I will align that to the middle, and I'll add a form. And this is going to be my contact form. Create contact. Inside of it, I'll add a field group, and I'll update form fields and click update to confirm. Now, I'm not going to want someone to have to add all of these fields. So I'm going to go through and just delete some of them. So created that can go, updated that, go. Delete the ones, last contact, estimated value, estimated close. So I want someone to fill in their first name, their last name, their email, their phone. The rest of it, I'm either going to do automatically or fill in as they work through my data flow. So I can go through and I can tidy up these fields. So give this form a little bit more width. So maybe set it to maybe 400 pixels. We'll add a little headline at the top. Say contact sales. Right to the top here. And we'll add a submit button. So when this button gets clicked, what I'd like to happen are a couple of things. First of all, I would like it to save the row. Save a row. for our contact form to our contacts, but I want to add some fields. I'd like to add the status to be new. So click status and I'll set that to be new. And the channel, I want to set using this lightning bolt to be from the URL, the channel string. And that says channel because that's what we put after that colon. So I'll save this now and save. Give it a bit of margin to the top. And if we use this little theming button, we can make it look a bit nicer if we darken it up a bit. Looks good. Now the other thing I want to happen is when I click submit, I want the form to go away if it's happened successfully. So to do that, I'll click define actions, add action, and I'll set state. And it'll be form submitted. Set to yes. And I want this whole contact form to not be here. So configure conditions, add a condition, hide the component if the value of our state form submitted equals yes. And we'll have another headline and this will say, thank you, we'll be in touch soon. And we want this to appear, conditions. So show the component if the value of our state variable is yes, and also hide the component if the value of our state component is empty. So when the page loads up. Okay, so if I test that, say Kevin Cunningham, kevin@budibase.com, and my phone number, press submit, thank you, we'll be in touch soon. If we go back to our data now, which I'm right at the end, I've been set to new and I've got this new record. But my channel has been just set to colon channel. How would I embed this? Well, I'd use an iframe. So here's a sort of fake page that I made for this insurance broker. I want to put our contact form at the bottom here. So to do that, I'm going to open up the HTML of this page and I'm going to add an iframe. So click here. And to this iframe, I can set its width and its height. I can set frame border. I'm allowing clipboard right so that we can copy and paste from it. Camera, geolocation, and full screen. I don't really need those, but if you're embedding other Budibase applications that are using those skills, we can add those. I'm going to leave full screen off. And I'll save that. And this was the URL of my current Budibase application. It's embedded the CRM contact form of the website. So back on my application, I'm going to publish it. So this is going to be visible. And now I'm going to refresh this page. So now if I scroll down, I can type in my name. So tester, test@test.com and my number and submit. Row save, thank you, will be in touch. I'm back on my database then. Test@test.com and the channel is set to website. And why is it set to website? Because when I pasted this code in, I added website. I could add anything in here, Twitter, YouTube, and that dynamic piece will be captured and added to our URL. When there is a new sale, I would like us to message into our Discord server that there's been a new sale. So I'm going to do that through automations. I'm going to create an automation and I'll call it my new contact. And when a row has been created, I'll click on contacts and I want to link out to Discord. Now for this to work, you need to be the administrator of a Discord server of some description. Server settings, I'll go to integrations, go to webhooks, and I'll create a new webhook. And I'll name this something like our new contact. And I want it to be able to post inside my sales channel. I'll copy the URL and I'll save my changes. Back in Budibase, I'll paste that URL here. I'll say this is my new contact. I'll say we have a new contact from, and we can do trigger outputs, row. I want to get access to the channel. And then we've got the first name. So we do trigger output dot first name is waiting to chat. Their email is, and then we'll do row dot email. And I'll save. Now we can test that. We test it by adding something into the contacts. We'll do all the fields that we just tested. Kevin@budibase.com. And the channel was testing channel. We'll click test. This says it all went well. I'm back on Discord. We can see a message. You have new contact from testing channel. Kevin is waiting to chat. Their email is kevin@budibase.com. All looks good. So let's publish. Go back to our website with our form. We can put new test, new tester, new test at test.com, and the phone number. Submit. Good. Over here we can see you have new contact from the website. New test is waiting to chat. Their email is newtest@test.com. And if we check on our data, we can see that new test is there as well. So now that we have our embedded form with our automation into our Discord, we have our opportunities page where our sales staff can be able to see which opportunities are in progress. We can create a couple of new pages. We're going to create a page just to keep track of new contacts. So a table that's collecting together all of those new leads from our forms. So I'm going to duplicate the opportunity screen. I'm going to call this new leads. For this table, where we have the filter set to status equals in progress, I'm going to change this to status equals new. And then we'll want to update the queries for each of these. So here we had the total and the average query when they were in progress. We want to do the same for when they're new. And here we have for these contacts for when they're in progress. We want to change that to when they're new. So let's go back to our data tab and average and total value. Let's duplicate that. And this is going to be of new leads. And we'll change where status equals in progress. We'll change that to new. We'll run the query and we'll save. And then last 7 days contact. This says, and the status is in progress. So if we duplicate this and we'll say last 7 days contact new leads, and we'll change this to new. And run the query and then save. So back in our design tab, we're in our new leads screen and we'll just update these queries. So average and total value of new leads. Average and total value of new leads. And last 7 day contact of new leads. Finally, we'll add a link. So we'll go to links, configure links. We'll add a link saying new. We'll bring it to the top. New leads and save. So we filtered the data. We're showing statistics related just to that data. So our team can use this to follow up on new leads or to keep track of in progress leads. So I'll create a third screen for customers. Customers are when the status equals 1. And then I'll update the queries. And switch them over. So customers. Now each of those pages could have different data. And I can use this home page to be able to display data in different ways. So I would like to create a bar graph, which is going to show me the different channels that my leads are coming through. So I'm going to create a query to collect that data. So I'll go to Postgres, queries, create new query. And I'm going to call this channels for leads. And I'm going to select the channel and also the count of the channel from the contacts where the channel isn't null. I'm going to group by channel and I'll order by channel count descending. So I run that query. I can see that I've got 2 people that have come from my website and 1 that's come from that colon channel. So obviously over time you have Twitter and YouTube, you have different ways to be able to get traffic to your form. So I'll save that query and I'll go to my design tab and I'll add a chart component, chart block. I'll call this my channel acquisition chart. The chart type might have a bar chart. The data is going to be the channels for leads. Scroll down. I'll set the data to be the channel count and the label to be the channel. Okay, so I've got this bar chart. I can change the palette. There are 10 set palettes here. And if you don't like any of those, you can set a custom palette, where you can set those colors to be what you'd like them to be. So that's my channel acquisition chart. The last thing I'll add in this dashboard is a pie chart or donut chart of the status of the deals. So again, I'll need a custom query for that. So I will go to Postgres, queries, create new query. And this is going to be status of all. And I want to select the status and count star as status count from the contacts. I don't want to count anything that's null. So where status is not null, group by status, and I want to order by status count. Descending. So I run that and get a list of my statuses, 1, new, lost, and in progress. I'll save that query, go to my design tab, add a component of a chart block. This is going to be my status chart. I'll do it as a donut. I'll do it from status of all. I'll set the data to be the status count and the label to be the status. I've got now my status of my components. So I preview my application. I land on my dashboard. I could have any of the data I have on those particular pages brought out here if I'd like to see those front and center. I can click in to see those new clients. How am I doing with picking up on new leads? The in progress opportunities. How am I doing with those? And my legacy customers, how am I doing in keeping in touch with them and seeing if they want more custom from us. So a CRM allows us to be able to develop workflows, automate steps, to make visible those connections we're making and remind us of the value of each of our customers and encourage us to keep on top of reaching out and converting those leads into happy customers. As you use Budibase to build your own CRM, there'll be other screens and data, other tables that you will use based on your context. But with a combination of the custom queries, charts, tables, and cards that we've looked at over this video, you can make it exactly how you want it. All the code for the custom queries and iframes will be included in the blog post linked below, and will also provide an export of this application so you can play with it on your machine. I hope that's been useful. Let us know in the comments below, and also let us know if there are other applications you'd like us to build in Budibase. Thanks a lot. Bye.